This negative belief affects millions of people all over the world, and you might be one of them. The belief is, I must succeed without having my needs met. This belief manifests in major world systems that you've likely experienced if you've been to school, if you've worked in restaurant or retail, or if you have toxic parents. You've experienced the conditioning that creates this belief. It impacts the way that you relate to success. Success meaning succeeding at what you want to do, what you set your mind to. That personal power that allows you to make changes in your life. Beliefs influence your actions, which influence how you experience life. On a collective level, collective actions stem from collective beliefs, which influences collective experience. Your physical experience can be the same, but if you change your beliefs, the way that you experience life is completely different. How to know if you have this belief? If you had a parent, or if you've experienced people that don't take accountability for themselves. What this means is that when someone impacts you negatively, or when someone does something wrong, they blame you. They don't take accountability or responsibility for the actions that they take and the impact that they have on others. A really important truth in this world is that people affect others. People with accountability don't believe in this truth, that you are able to affect others with your actions. A really good example of this has to do with grades in school. Let's say your parent expects you to get really good grades in school. But the reason why your grades are failing is because you have anxiety when you take tests. The reason why you have anxiety is because of the emotional neglect you experience at home. And so when you fail in school, the parents blame the kid. They look for things wrong with the kid. They diagnose the kid with ADHD. They punish you. They shame the kid. When there's actually nothing wrong with the kid. The kid isn't having their needs met. This belief forms when a parent has high expectations of a child, but doesn't provide that child with what they need to meet those expectations. In order to succeed, there are conditions to succeed. We have emotional and physical needs as humans. There's also lessons, knowledge, and skills to succeed, to take certain actions. But when people who don't take accountability expect you to succeed without what's necessary to succeed, we internalize it, that there's something wrong with us. And then on a more grand scale, it gets even worse. Because schools, jobs have high expectations of the people in them. Some of them succeed by burning out, by overworking, by coping negatively to maintain that level of success without their needs. And then those people are used as examples. Well, this person can do it. Why can't you? There must be something wrong with you if you can't overwork yourself, if you're tired, if you're stressed, if you're failing, but this person isn't. There must be something wrong with you. But it's not the truth. You see, especially in workplaces, when people are forced to perform and smile and do well without meeting their needs or having their needs met, what always happens is they turn to some form of unhealthy coping mechanism. It could be Red Bull, it could be alcohol, it could be unhealthy food. A lot of times it's also relational difficulties is the coping skill. If someone doesn't meet their needs, but they're still pushing their body and their self, then they start to treat others around them badly to discharge that emotion, discharge what they aren't dealing with. And then we see toxicity in society because major systems like schools stressing kids out, having high expectations while kids are not having their needs met at home. Workplaces having high expectations while overworking you and stressing you out and not supporting you emotionally or physically. All of that. But you're expected to succeed. And it creates toxicity. Kids get bullied at school. Kids are bullies at school. There's bullying at work, targeting at work. Because everyone's being forced to succeed without having their needs met. And how does this manifest in your personal life? Earlier in the video, I shared how beliefs influence your actions, which influence how you experience life. How this belief influences your actions is it conditions you to skip what is necessary in order to succeed. So you try to succeed without having the lessons, skills, knowledge, or needs in order to succeed. And then when you do not succeed, this negative belief is reinforced that there's something wrong with you because you can't succeed. So it trains us to set ourselves up to fail. What this looks like is forcing ourselves to do things that we don't want to do. That is really difficult to do. Control. People who don't take accountability are usually controlling. And if you have this belief, you inherited this way of controlling how you interact with life. When you behave from an energy of control, it never works out in your favor. You manifest opposite results. You create resistance. And that's how this belief manifests. We have a goal. I want to stop smoking weed. I don't, but this is an example. I want to stop smoking weed. That's the goal. What we do, we try to stop smoking weed and we fail. And it hurts our self-esteem. But the reason why we smoke weed is extremely deep and complex. Maybe we use it, maybe someone uses it to cope with their life, cope with their feelings, cope with their childhood, numb the pain from their childhood. So our course of action would actually be to heal the childhood, to change the life, to make life feel better. We don't need to stop smoking weed. We need to make life feel better. We need to meet our needs so that we will no longer desire the weed. So we shift the way we relate to life, forcing ourselves to do things without having what we need, to actually creating the version of us that has different desires, that has the needs met in order to do what we want to do. This is how you flow with life. Your desires are not wrong. If you desire weed, your body is trying to meet a need through weed. I'm not like a weed quitting expert, but just an example. But if you desire weed, your body is doing that for a reason. So we shift out of control into a mindset of trust. I trust that my body is working for me and not against me. Therefore, there's a solution, there's a need to why I have these unhealthy coping mechanisms. There's a reason why I can't reach my goals that has nothing to do with my worth. Nothing to do with my value or me. You see, the responsibility is not always on you. This is what people and systems that don't take responsibility train you. You are always responsible. Sometimes you are not responsible. The school system is responsible for the way that it is set up so that all kids can't succeed. That's a responsibility. There's nothing wrong with kids in school who fail at grades. There might be. Some don't try, but there's always nuance. I'm talking about the ones that do try and fail. What's wrong with the system? What's wrong with their home life? This is the attitude we want to have to ourselves. We'll take responsibility for ourselves when necessary. But we don't have to hold on to the conditioning that forces us to take responsibility for what is not our responsibility. Sometimes you just don't have what you need. If you want to know more about how to make this shift in your life, you can watch my next video. It's called How to Align with Your Highest Manifestations. Thank you for watching.